Hello and welcome everyone to the Wednesday, February 14th edition of the Contributor Experience SIG meeting. We do these bi-weekly. A reminder that we do operate under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. Usually we like to offer an opportunity here at the beginning of the meeting for new folks to introduce themselves. We've been experimenting with a new process for that in comms, but I won't bother messing with it today. So the usual process here is if you are new to our call and you would like to introduce yourself, you are welcome to do so now. Totally optional. But I'll leave that open for a minute.
Yeah, I can give it a try. So, hello all. My name is Sotiris. So I'm in the delightful position to contribute to Kubernetes after being working like from the beginning with it. This is my company that I work with, Ericsson Software Technologies. Decided that it's good to give it a try for me. So after 2 weeks, I'm very pleased, and I was very interested to join your SIG because the last 2 weeks I've seen all the contributor videos and all this tutorial that you have, and it's a great job. And I wanted to see the people behind it. So hi all, and thanks for the great job you have done.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves?
Well, we should introduce some of the standard people.
Yeah, should we just go ahead and do it?
So Sotris knows, yeah.
Do it.
I'm Josh
the-
Burkus. I'm not tag contributor strategy. But I am co-chair of tag contributor strategy, which is why I'm logged in that way.
And
Keslin?
and that's the process that we've been doing in comms is just having everybody introduce themselves. We picked it up from SIG Security, so we could consider making that the normal process in this meeting is just having everyone introduce themselves. Anyway, hello, I'm Kaslin, and I am one of the co-chairs of SIG Contributor Experience. I'm also a sub-project lead alongside Chris of the Contributor Comms sub-project, where we do communications around like managing social media. We write a bunch of blog posts, helping to make sure the contributor community knows what's going on in the community. We're starting to pick up a few things with end user communications, but it's mainly a contributor audience in that sub-project of SIG ContribEx. But this is the full SIG meeting, so we'll talk about all of our sub-projects. And I'll pass it to Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Short, currently at AWS. Currently, we're looking for a new role. Been on SIG ContribEx for several years now. Don't make me do the math. But yes, welcome all. I'll hand it over to Mario.
Find the mute button. Hi, I'm Mario. I'm also part of the subgroup SIG ContribEx Comms. I do there mostly the technical stuff and some parts of the last week's in Kubernetes development newsletter. And with this, I pass to Xander.
Hello, I'm Xander. I work on open source at Microsoft and participate in various SIGs here and there. Currently with ContribEx, I am co-leading the Contributor Summit for the EU event coming up next month here with Arnaud. Yeah, with that, I'll pass over to Noah.
Hi, I'm Noah. I work at Oracle. Ostensibly, I am responsible for helping contributors get involved. We'll see whether or not that continues. I have been here a long time, along with many of the people here who have also been here a long time. And I can be summoned by saying the phrase non-code 3 times into a mirror. It's very silly. I also help out on things like Contrib Summit and Program Committee and all the other supporting things back and behind the scenes. I will pass over to SJ if you are interested. but maybe not.
Cool. If you do want to introduce yourself, you're welcome to do so in the chat. Also, totally welcome to not everybody. Always a reminder. And then there was one more person on the list, but I don't see them right now. If we've missed anyone and you would like to introduce yourself, I'll leave that open for a moment now. Cool. Thank you very much, everyone. A note on the process that we're adopting in comms for this part of the meeting is based on SIG Security's way of doing it. They don't pass to each other. They do just like if you want to introduce yourself, you just go. So that it's even more optional, you know? So maybe we'll adopt that process in the future. Something for us to think about. But letting folks know about different ways to approach this because I found it super fascinating. Cool. So I think that does it for introductions. Feel free to pop in at any time. If you didn't get to and you want to say hello, we are happy to chat with folks here. And that's it for our welcome and recurring business. From there, we will jump into the agenda. And our agenda starts out with our events sub-project, which is not, I feel like it's not really a sub-project. It's kind of a project that pops up whenever we need it. But our current event that's going on is the Contributor Summit. And we have Xander, who's one of the co-leads of that on. Would you like to give us an update?
Yeah, things are going well. Our No is completing the order for staff swag. We did manage to secure a venue for the celebration, which I'm really excited about. It is going to be similar to what we had in Amsterdam in that it is like on the campus of the convention center, but it is a beautiful separate event space, lots of plants and greenery. Like it's going to be really wonderful. And we won't have to have people walk anywhere to find a location. So it's really wonderful. Yeah, I think that's the main things that's come up. We are also going through and building the schedule at the moment. We did extend the CFP to give folks a little bit more time to submit. But yeah, after that, things are coming together well.
The CFP closes today, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
Also, one thing I forgot to do in the opening was to ask if anyone wanted to be a note taker. Does anyone want to note take today?
I can do notes.
Thank you, Mario. Much appreciated. Cool. Also, a note on the Contributor Summit, well, kind of, is I created the meet and greet issue. So if you're planning to be there in person and you know that you want to be there for the meet and greet, you can mention it on that issue, I suppose. I'll grab the link for that here in a moment. Yeah. Any other questions about Contributor Summit? CFP closes today, so if you have anything that you want to submit that you haven't submitted yet, I know I have one thing. Make sure you get it in. Cool. Thank you, Xander, for the update. If you have any questions about the Contributor Summit at any point, you can find us on Slack in the Contributor Summit or in the Summit staff channel. We are also, by the way, this is for a section for Mario too, is we are open to volunteers, right, for on-site. So if anyone is going to be on-site and wants to volunteer, there's a form to fill out, right?
Yes, let me put it in the chat.
Yeah. We should grab that form, the CFP, and the issue for the meet and greet. I'll try to do that in a minute. Ooh. So we'll move on from the summit. The next item on our agenda, while we're finding links to put into the notes, is mentoring. Do we have any updates in mentoring today? Sounds
Wait,
like
yeah,
no.
actually, couple of minor things. New term of LFX is starting. Right now, we're in the run up to Google Summer Code. And we're in the thing where we think the CNCF will be accepted for Google Summer Code. Although we're not, we can never be absolutely sure, particularly this year when Google Summer Code is putting an emphasis on AI ML projects. But we can still accept additional projects, additional internship projects for Google Summer Code at this point. I went ahead and put that in last week in Kubernetes development. We can put a link in the notes here. Right now, there are no core Kubernetes projects or Kubernetes subproject proposals for Google Summer Code. I'm not that surprised. I think everybody's distracted by KubeCon and the like, but there just isn't anything in there.
Understandable. I did see a post from the CNCF about LFX. Mentee applications are open now, right? At least that's what I saw.
No idea.
Cool. And we got those links about the contributor summit in the notes, by the way, if anyone needs those.
Speaking of KubeCon, there is always the group mentoring at KubeCon, even though it is a much shorter time span than something like GSOC or LFX. It is always a well-attended event by people who are new to the event, new to the ecosystem, and are looking to figure out how they get involved. Typically broken out into technical, community, and career advice from people that are in the room. So just a reminder that that will happen, and I'm sure notifications about that will probably come out from Wendy in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it's usually on the last day. You can find it on the schedule. If you just show up and say, like, I want to help out as a mentor, or you're welcome to be a mentee, even if you've been around for a while. There's all kinds of mentors and mentees. Would recommend. It's a really wonderful event. I usually have a conflict. I wonder if it conflicts with the meet and greet. I need to check on that on the schedule.
It usually does.
Usually does, I think.
I feel like.
Very sad. We should maybe talk to the CNCF about that.
Yeah, that's as both are good places for mentoring, potentially. Yes.
We could co-locate those in the same room.
Wendy's the primary organizer, so talk to her first.
Cool.
I like that idea. Thank you for bringing that up. I never think about it until it's way too late. Cool. I'm going to put a note about that. I will check in on that with the CNCF folks, with Wendy specifically. Thank you. Anything else on mentoring? Questions, comments? Cool. We'll move on to the next item, which is contributor comms. Anyone want to lead the discussion on contributor comms?
I mean, I can, but yeah.
I also can. I just have to make the joke every time.
Yes. No. So full disclosure, right? Like I am a little checked out this week because I'm on vacation next week. But we've had lots of discussion about Slack bots and Twitter, Kubernetes IO. We still don't know what the deal is there, last I heard.
CNCF was working on it.
Yeah,
Working on figuring
Gigi's
out a
got the
plan.
ball, but yeah,
Yeah.
as far as I know. What else?
We do have LinkedIn now,
Yes,
which we're
we
still
need to get.
figuring out.
We still need to get that into the buffer setup.
Josh connected us with someone who's very familiar with LinkedIn as an audience. So we're still learning about LinkedIn since that's a new platform
Yes.
for us. So we were
Is-
going to talk to this person, but they were going to come last week and we didn't have our meeting last week.
Does Buffer do Blue Sky yet?
Not yet. It's like
Okay.
top of the list of new things. They have I'll find it in my history, but they have a list of networks that folks, basically upvote for the next thing to get onboarded, and it's right at the top.
Yeah, I mean,
That
they
and
opened
Threads.
it up last week, I guess. So then this puts more pressure onto it. And regarding the Slack bot, we updated actually the Slack bot, people that can use the Slack bot last week. So
Yes, sorry.
with the active
It had-
comms member and of course with the comms leader for the summit. And I think that Natalie already used it. I'm not sure.
Maybe she might have. I don't know. But yeah, so that was a good point. I have many tasks of documentation on stuff. As you know, you kind of have to be in a certain frame of mind to write docs sometimes, if you don't do it all the time. So yeah, I haven't achieved that state yet, which is disconcerting. So yeah.
Significance of LinkedIn, by the way, is that that's our first kind of end user focused platform that we own. So still figuring that out.
Yeah.
There's also an interesting conversation going on about surveys.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's kind of, last I checked, the wording was still being questioned, but there's a survey. So this week we learned just use Google Forms. Just make sure it comes from or is stored in a project Google Drive area. But the creation of it and then moving to that area apparently still, I don't know, there's ownership issues and stuff. So it's interesting. So yeah, just use Google Forms. Make sure it lives in a community-owned place, and we can do hyping and so forth as I spill coffee everywhere. From the comm side, but the survey has to be done first. And I'm going to get some paper towel.
Mario has a hand up.
And it's important because we ran into the issue for the summit. You can't make comments in forms. So if you want to basically comment on something, first put it into a doc, and then when you're done and all the comments are in, put it into the form. I think it's the only product where you can't do comments in Google
Slides too. It was really annoying. There's like something weird about making comments in there. I think you can, but I don't know. I had some kind of problem with it recently. Anyway.
Is that something about like
an issue.
you can comment on the slide, but not the object or vice versa?
I don't know. I think it depends on like access or something. Maybe it was just that. Anyway, you definitely can't make comments on forums, and that makes collaborating on them hard. And we do have quite a few rules around forums. Those are documented somewhere, right, Josh? I think you're very familiar with this.
With forms?
Yeah, forum rules. Do we have? I know there are a bunch of rules.
Well, I mean, you're talking about surveys in particular.
Yeah, surveys.
No, the only rule is that you have to include the sort of GDPR stuff. So you have to say who the form is for, who's going to see the data, how somebody gets themselves taken out. The rest of it is usually me working with somebody to improve the quality of the questions and workflow of the survey so that the SIG or whoever it is gets good results.
And you've been engaged there, right?
Yeah,
On this
it
particular
wouldn't
one.
be bad to put something up in our
Together.
community docs, but I'm not optimistic that anyone will actually read it, which is why I haven't gotten around to it.
Hmm.
The
Might be worth having the doc anyway, because this comes up periodically, and I'm always like,
It
I know there's a
does.
bunch of rules around this, but I don't know what they are.
the
I think it'd be worth
Okay.
doing, so maybe we should write that down as a potential
yeah,
project.
I mean, the other big thing is we should actually come up with some kind of a sort of, well, if people actually use the issue, which most of the time they don't, because we have an
Mhm.
issue template for surveys, then it's easy enough for somebody with the right permissions to create the survey on using, because the other issue is we want the survey to be on the Kubernetes.io shared drive, so that we can make sure that the data expires. That the data expires when we want it to and not when we don't want it to. But what's been happening more is people have been asking on Slack, which means it's some kind of random process. So,
Yes.
okay.
Indeed.
Would that just go in the comms guidelines?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, make it pretty explicit if you want, right? Like, go use this link, and here's what you need to know, right?
I mean, we have an issue for hey, I need comms. Maybe the easiest way would be then also like I have an issue for.
I think
or
that's where it is. I'm pretty sure
It-
we have it there, don't we?
Okay, I when I looked, I just did. I only found the I need comms issue template,
Oh,
but
Hmm.
it was pretty night time for me when I looked it up, so I might have overlooked it.
I think that's something for us to bring up in our next comms meeting.
yes. Most definitely.
Awesome. I think it'd be good to get that done. One other thing I put on our list to talk about with comms is that spotlight blogs are still a thing that we do. I feel like it's kind of the ContribEx equivalent of a good first issue. We have quite a few new folks on this call. If you're interested in active tasks that you could take on, the comm sub project has this ongoing project where our members interview the chairs of special interest groups within the Kubernetes project. You learn about what that SIG does, and then you write it up as a blog post. So this is something that's pretty much evergreen because there's so many SIGs, so there's always more of these blog posts to do. If you're interested in taking on a task like that, we meet on Fridays, and we're also on Slack in SIG ContribEx comms. So just a call out for folks looking for stuff to do. Always welcome in comms. Cool. Any other questions, comments for comms before we move on to the next topic in the agenda?
I just dropped a link. There's the roadmap, which gives you a little bit more structure, but then the next level up, just take the word roadmap off. It tells you like the popularity of the next services for Buffer. Right now it's Meta Threads, Blue Sky, then Reddit and Telegram.
And to clarify, Buffer is the tool that the comms team uses to manage our many various social media accounts.
Yes.
Not that many right now, but it could be.
I know.
It will only grow.
Mm.
Cool. Sounds like folks are good to move on to the next item then, which is contributor documentation. Are there any updates there that we need to talk about? These are both listed as Bob things, and I know he was busy. So we may come back to this if he joins in. He said that he might join late. We'll see. And skipping that, the next item is moderation and media. Nigel isn't on, but Chris, you've also been doing a lot of work there. Does anyone, folks throughout the group tend to get involved with this periodically, I think. Are there any updates there that folks want to talk about in moderation
So
and media?
for YouTube, because I was out because of Carnival, I didn't do any updates. So I'm still need to do the auto scrapping for the right playlist. But I saw popping up that some folks are still uploading manually videos to playlists from a SIG. I think it was multi-cluster. Should we actively ping those folks that we have an automation way for publishing their things or not? Chris, you want to say something?
I would say once it's not 100% dependent upon Nigel, which I feel like it's not anymore 100% dependent. It would just be nice if we could be like, yes, here's the process. And as long as we have that process written down, then I think we're good, right? Like, this is how we do it. Let us know if you want to take over.
Yeah, it might even be a Slack bot kind of probably just chairs and TLs. Once we have that
Well,
process docked
Chairs
down.
and TLs needs to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once, like, this is where you go to get such a thing and make that happen. So
Yeah. Thank you, Mario. Sorry, I kind of
Mario.
popped in the notes there.
But yeah, Mario, thank you for your work on that. Whenever you do it.
Such as open source.
Mm-hmm.
Any other items on moderation media that we want to talk about? We've had some really exciting progress going on there with automating processes.
Just anecdotally, Zapier has changed their pricing structure. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in outside of comms. Zapier has changed their pricing structure. We're fine for now, but there's more features and like the new thing, and I forget what specifically I mentioned that we could use. I'll have to go back and look at comms notes. But yeah, there's been a change there. And the reason I mentioned that is because it totally broke my personal account, which was like many, many years old, and certain people had granted me more execution processes than a free account should have. So I'm assuming under the new policies that my account kind of got nixed. So yeah, anyways. But there's that. Like, it's a real big change for Zapier. So we just need to keep an eye on that in the future.
A good note. Cool. So let's move on from moderation and media. And is there anyone who has any updates on GitHub management? That's okay. I don't think we have any of those folks on today, and I don't know of anything in particular going on there. If anyone does, welcome to speak out. But foregoing that, next one is elections, which we're pretty far off from the election cycle, so I don't imagine you have anything going on there. But if you do, let us know, Josh.
Right. Josh, is there anyone else
Nothing.
that
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
there-
Although we are close enough that we should be trying to probably determine who are going to be the election officers. Just in case we've had some of those people drop out of the community and we're not doing the smooth rotation. If we have enough people who were involved last time who think they're going to be available to be election officers, then that's not an issue. And we can ignore it until May. But if we don't, then we might want to start figuring out who's going to do that.
what does an election officer do exactly? It's documented somewhere, I'm sure.
Yes, yes, it is. I mean, but they supervise the election and all of its phases.
Okay.
And the two requirements are it's it needs to be somebody who's been involved with the Kubernetes project for a while, and they need to not be running in the election.
Very valid.
Or be a current sitting board member who steering member who expects to continue on steering after the election, because we don't need deck stacking. And then we also require it to be distributed among employers. So that can run us into some constraints. Yeah, and there's actually a fair bunch of manual work, most of which has to do with comms, which is just doing the constant announcements so that people actually pay attention to the election.
I've been an election officer the last few times, and I mainly handle comms. I basically act as the elections comms lead.
Yeah.
This is why I was asking, because I know you were on there for the last cycle.
Yeah.
Maybe you and I should rotate or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'd be up for that.
Because I doubt I'll run for a leadership position anytime soon. Not until my job situation's figured out. Noah, what's up?
So speaking of manual work, I remember, Josh, you mentioned that there were tasks that needed to be done. Would now be a good time to bring those up to the community for, I know there was like various coding projects and things that needed to be done.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing for Electo is we need an actual test framework, and a lot of other problems are gated behind that. A couple of people have expressed interest in it, but they haven't had time to follow up. So, because things like, particularly the number one feature requested by users, which is to make it case agnostic, is kind of gated behind having decent test coverage. So, we can throw that out there. I've actually tried to do that a couple of times with interns, but what I've discovered is that by and large, schools do not teach people how to develop tests.
No.
And if
they just don't.
Right. If I have to train somebody in how to create testing, a test framework, etc., then that's more time than it would be to do it myself. So yeah, and unfortunately, given my spring, I wouldn't have time to really work on that myself until we're already getting into election period. So, but that would be something to throw out there. It doesn't.
Would that
we
be
have
something
issues open?
Would that be something that we could potentially try and collaborate with SIG testing on?
Yeah, but I don't know that they have spare bandwidth.
That's also fair.
And it would be using a different set of tools. We want fairly self-contained Python tests, not something that needs to run on our PROW network.
Fair.
So
the challenges of open source.
Indeed.
We have things that need to be done. Very specific things that require specific skills. Finding them tends to be a challenge. Developing them is a separate challenge.
I mean, we could do a call out in the community with via comms. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Within the community, yes. This one needs to stay off social though.
Yeah, I would use either the Slack bot or the emailing list.
Or ChatGPT, or whatever Xander's forced to use.
Something for us to think about. Maybe we could talk about it more sometime, Josh. Any other questions, comments about elections? that is our last item on our agenda. So now it's open mic. So if we want to continue to talk about elections, we can do that. If there's anything we've talked about today that we want to talk about, we can do that. If there's anything folks want to talk about that we haven't covered, you are welcome to speak up now. Cool. Sounds like folks are good to go then. You have something, Noah?
Very, very tangential.
That's okay.
Okay. Because we were talking about Blue Sky earlier. And I just saw that there is now a third-party version of TweetDeck that is being built for Blue Sky.
Yes,
And
there
that
is.
made
It's
a
called Blue
lot
Deck.
of people's life easier. So just thought I'd mention it because, sometimes usability is a barrier.
Deck.blue is what they named it. And
Yeah.
it looks very much like TweetDeck, yes.
We probably won't be able to use that for comms because Buffer is useful because it's across platforms.
Mm-hmm. Like
Whereas this
input
thing,
once, output multiple. Yeah.
yeah. This
I
thing
mean,
I
this
assume
would
will
be-
be only Blue Sky, but
Yeah, this would be nice if they added like multi-user support, which I believe is on their roadmap. But
even
yeah.
then, Buffer gives us multi-user support plus across platforms, so we
Mhm.
probably wouldn't switch, but it's still good to know about.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anything else?
Speaking of, did somebody create a Kubernetes account on Blue Sky yet?
Well,
If you-
the thing with Blue Sky is that it's domain based, and since we have the domain,
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about people squatting it really.
Good point. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So we can anytime.
Noted. I know where to update DNS.
Yeah. It's a nice thing about Blue Sky.
Mm-hmm.
I do see there is a Kubernetes user parked, but it is not on the domain.
Right.
Might be kind of like LinkedIn, where a community member had parked it on LinkedIn. It was a kind of a roundabout way that we got access to it, but they had done it for good reasons.
Looks like it was Richie.
Cool. And being able to figure that out, unlike on LinkedIn, is
Mhm.
useful. Cool. So we'll keep an eye on that. I expect Buffer will have some Blue Sky capabilities probably
Smash.
this year, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, as fast as they spun up Mastodon, I would think so. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. If there's no other items, then I can stop our recording for today. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll say goodbye to our friends on YouTube.